Hello and welcome to this week's Different League show, sponsored by Betfred. So Tuesday night wasn't exactly the ideal night for the English sides in the Champions League. Liverpool have a mountain to climb. They've done it before, but never at an empty Anfield. And City were perhaps a little bit lucky to go into the second leg 2-1 up. That tie is far from over. Alongside Mark Langdon and myself, we have someone who's making a name for himself in the media as much as he was as a player, Gabby Agbonlahor. Gabby, good to see you. How are you?
Yeah, I'm very good, thank you. How are you guys?
We're good, mate. You came down in the train today, didn't you, rather than car?
Yeah, I wanted to give back to, the train community. So, jumped on the train this morning.
You're
full of coffee on the train.
Full of giving back, isn't it? And you know what? You know when you see sometimes the appearance makers of a team, how many they've made this season or for the club, I'm sure you'd be top of our appearance makers this season as well for different league shows.
I think so. Well, that's only positive news, isn't it? If I was awful, I don't think I would have got the call back.
Exactly, mate. Listen, unfortunately, we've got to start the show with a very serious topic and one that just won't go away, and that's kicking racism out.
Yeah.
Rangers' Glenn Kamara said he was racially abused in their Europa League tie against Slavia Prague. The Slavia Prague player has actually been suspended for one match, but investigation's still ongoing. More recently, Valencia's Mukta Diakabi said he was racially abused in a match against Cadiz. Valencia walked off the pitch. It was said, although we don't know who by, that they were told they had to go back on, otherwise they could lose 3 points. Your thoughts on this as well? I mean, because we have to say as well that Juan Cala has done a press conference denying racially abusing Diakabi, but what are your thoughts on this? And also whether Valencia should have gone back out, and generally what should the authorities do about it?
I think, first of all, as a player, you're not going to make something up and have that reaction and leave the pitch. So for me, the player has definitely said what allegedly has been said he said. And you've seen the punishment should have been Valencia don't have to come back out and play the game. Don't come back out. Why should the player who had to be subbed, probably because if he comes on the pitch, he might get sent off in the first minute because you're playing against someone who's racially abused you. So I think it's not fair on Valencia having to come out and continue to play the game, which they happened to lose, didn't they? 2-1 was it? And they were drawing when it happened. So yeah, it's very disappointing, and I just hope that the right punishment can be given, because if you give the big punishment, maybe a year ban to the player, then players will think twice about doing it. If he gets 1 game ban, like the Slavia Prague players got at the moment, then it will continue to happen. So I think UEFA, the Spanish league, people who make decisions have to make a big stand now, and maybe a year's ban is what that player needs.
I think we have to say as well that there has to be an investigation first and foremost, because we have to find out with evidence, and not necessarily beyond reasonable doubt, but on the balance of probability, whether he said it or not. And he has come out and said that he's almost gone on the attack, Cala, hasn't he, by saying that he didn't racially abuse him. But I mean, this is going on now. It's a couple of incidents on the pitch. We know what's gone on. We talked about social media off the pitch as well. This has to be stamped down, and there has to be big, not just fines, but bans as well.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think you're going to get sort of big outcomes until you make a big decision. Gabby's spoken about sort of lengthy suspensions. I think walking off the pitch is the best thing to do, and to not play the game, and then sort of dare the authorities to dock a team points. Like, can you imagine the embarrassment for La Liga if they then took 3 points off Valencia? So I've said this about a lot of things. When you make a protest, as long as you're still actually doing the, what the sort of authorities want you to do, and you can call it sort of, when clubs want an owner out, and they go and shout the house down inside the stadium, having given the people the money. Don't do it. Don't play the game. Just stay outside. Stay in the dressing room. Refuse to play the match, and then let the authorities put them. Really put the onus on them to have to make a big call.
I think it's hard as well to prove, isn't it? How do you prove it if another player's not heard it? Do you know what I mean? So it's going to be one that if you want proof for it, then the players are going to end up getting away with it. Does that make sense? I think the Rangers one might be a bit different because other players heard it.
Yeah.
So you've got witnesses. But I think the Valencia incident, I don't know if any other player heard it. So it's going to be sort of your word against mine. And if I've done something wrong, my first thing I'm thinking is, let me go on the attack so I look innocent. So for the player that's meant to have said the racial comment, he's probably coming on the defensive now because it probably helps his case. Does that make sense?
No, it does. Definitely coming in on the offensive. It's difficult though if it's one man's word against another.
Exactly. That's the problem of being proven. That's the problem.
How worrying is it generally then that there seems to be these instances going forward? You know, on the pitch. Normally, in the dressing room, it's multicultural and
yeah, this is what I don't understand.
About the colour, it's about whether you're a good person or not so good person.
Because what's baffling to me is that the teams where these incidents are happening, they've got black players in their own team. So if this was my teammate, then I'm falling out with him for doing it. And I just think what it's showing in football is that there is racist people playing the game. So sometimes they get into a heated argument. If I get into a heated argument with someone, then I might say things that you accept on a football pitch. But people that are racist are probably getting angry with another player, and their natural instinct of being racist is coming out when they probably don't mean to. Does that make sense?
No, 100%. So what are you saying in terms of if someone is found guilty, the year ban, that would be more than enough to make sure that people...
Yeah, I think, but it has to be like a big punishment. We talk about if you get caught doing something bad and breaking the law, we want bigger punishments. In England, don't we, in the law for certain crimes because people are going to do it again. So if they can make a big statement now of like you get caught racially abusing someone, a year ban, massive fine, players will think twice. They might then think to themselves, okay, I don't like this player, he's won me a poor game. I'll say other things. Do you know what I mean? That we're used to as footballers accepting, and it's part of the game. But when you start to bring in like being homophobic, being racist, there's no place for it. So a big punishment, a year ban for me would. But it needs to be 100 times the ban that the Slavia Prague player got, didn't he? I mean, he got a game, hasn't he, so far, which is a disgrace. But hopefully that investigation carries on and he gets more.
He'll get a lot more. Yeah. I totally agree with you with the year's ban. OK, let's talk matters purely on the pitch now as well. And the Champions League is getting exciting. Last night we saw that the first set of first legs of the quarter-final. Not necessarily a great night for the English sides. Let's talk about Liverpool first. What did you make of them in Madrid?
I actually backed them to go there and win. I saw the lineups, no Varane, no Ramos. I seen Jota in the side, and I thought this is a great chance for Liverpool. You know what they're like in Europe, but they totally didn't turn up. I was watching the game, and like right from the first whistle, Real Madrid were the ones controlling the ball in midfield. Madrid, Cruz, and just didn't turn up. To be honest, the defence looked very nervous. All of the back four for me looked very nervous in the game, and they've got a mountain to climb now. Can they do it? Yes, they can, because they do only need 2 goals. So it's all to play for still in the next leg.
They can do it. I'm not sure if they will do it because it will be at an empty Anfield. How much of a difference does that make?
Well, I mean, Everton won at Anfield and they never win there, do they? So it's a completely different experience. I mean, Barcelona crumbled, didn't they, a couple of years ago? You know, 1 goal just changes the whole dynamic inside the stadium. I expected more in Liverpool. They played well against Arsenal, and you can argue that Arsenal weren't very good in that game. But Real Madrid are not the Real Madrid of sort of yesteryear. They were there for the taking, and it was a poor performance. And looking at it, I think it might be too much for them to overcome now. 2-1 was doable. 3-1 might just be a bit too.
They're just not doing the same things as we've known from Liverpool over the last few years. Usually, you're like, they're going to press. They're going to put any team under pressure. This Real Madrid team's not even a great team, and they're sitting back with a high line. You see the first goal from Cruz, his pass. You can't leave a player of that class to just be able to pick his head up and play a ball with a high line. Normally you'd have Henderson pressing him, Fabinho pressing him, so he hasn't got anywhere to play.
You can also have Van Dijk and Gomez at the back. If you've got a high line, they've got the pace to go in behind, haven't they?
Exactly. It's just a strange performance for me. I don't know what you thought of it.
Yeah, we just subdued. I mean, it's a Champions League quarter-final. I don't know if playing in Real Madrid's training centre, sort of just psychologically, you know, it doesn't feel like a big game, does it? And they didn't approach it like it was a Champions League quarter-final and their whole season, you know, on the line almost.
In a word, did they get through to the semis?
No, not for me.
No,
unfortunately, I'm with you on that one. Man City, Borussia Dortmund. I mean, that was some game. I know you watched that one, didn't you? Dortmund made it tough for City, and Jude Bellingham's disallowed goal. What happened there?
One of the worst refereeing decisions I've ever seen, and not because he made the mistake. I think that's completely acceptable, and as human beings, we all make mistakes. But to not allow that move to play out for one more second, so he could go and check that he made the right decision, was absolutely outrageous, really. City weren't great. They have these sort of wobbles in the Champions League where they get really nervous, and the Bellingham goal should have stood, and then it could have been a completely different game. The two standouts, though, were De Bruyne and Phil Foden was just magnificent on the left-hand side. A joy to watch, kept Raheem Sterling out of the team. I mean, that sort of, there's a randomness to Pep Guardiola. You've no idea what he's going to do with his team selection. I didn't expect Sterling to be dropped / rested or whatever, but it worked. Foden was outstanding. I think they'll win. Yeah, I think they'll beat Dortmund in the away game. Dortmund, a bit like Liverpool, really rely on that home crowd, and without that, a much easier game.
Yeah, you'd expect City to get through, but it's a dangerous scoreline, isn't it? Dortmund only need to win 1-0, and they've got Erling Haaland, of course, as well, and Jude Bellingham.
Like, I seen the highlights after the Liverpool game last night, and I seen the chance where Haaland bullied Diaz onto the floor and ran through, and he's such a dangerous player. And in that second leg, to have that crucial away goal, anything can happen. Manchester City, they've been known to crumble when you get to this stage of the Champions League. To know that, it's all it's going to take is one goal, one bit of class from, Haaland maybe, and then Dortmund go through. So it's a risky scoreline, but I still fancy Manchester City. I think De Bruyne, Foden, the players they've got, I'm sure they'll go there and then get a result.
They'll score over there. So City?
Yeah, City for me.
City for me. As they walked off, Phil Foden and Erling Haaland speaking to each other like that. I wonder what they was. Come to City.
I don't think it was Haaland saying come to Dortmund. Yeah.
Okay, look. Let's do some quick fire tips as well on tonight's games, Wednesday in the Champions League, and also Thursdays in the Europa League as well. Chelsea at Porto. Don't know what the heck happened against West Brom at the Bridge, but what's your tip for this game?
I think it's going to be a tight game, but the way it's going at the moment, I'm thinking that every team's going to get their away goal, so I'm going to go for a 1-1.
1-1?
I'm going to go for a Chelsea win. Oliveira and Taremi, Porto's top scorer and second top scorer, both suspended, so maybe 1-0.
Yeah, I don't think this is going to be a classic, but it is one that I'm going to watch. And I think it will be Tuchel's Chelsea again, a 1-0 win.
It's so important, though, is it, to get an away goal. So if you're Tuchel, you've got to go attacking, haven't you, to get that goal.
Definitely. This might be the game you're going to watch, though, Gabby. A repeat of last season's final. Glamour tie, isn't it? Bayern Munich against PSG. Let's go to you first, actually, Mike. How do you see this? Because, Bayern are without Lewandowski, aren't they?
Yeah, and Serge Gnabry looks like he's going to miss out as well. So Choupo-Moting could be the one up front for Bayern in a tie that's got a galaxy of stars. He wouldn't be the first choice of the players to watch. I'm going to go for Bayern to win and both teams to score. Neymar and Mbappe, Di Maria, give PSG a lot going sort of forward. I just think they're a bit flaky. We spoke about Man City maybe not being great in the Champions League. I'm not sure with PSG whether you're going to get a 10 out of 10 or a 2 out of 10. I know with Bayern it's going to be sort of minimum 7 out of 10 and probably nearer an 8 or 9. And I think with Müller and Sane and Kingsley Coman, who got the winner in the Champions League final, and the midfield control, Kimmich and Goretzka, I think that's where they'll probably win the game.
Gabby?
I have to agree. I think PSG, they'll definitely score. Mbappe, Neymar, you can't keep them quiet for 90 minutes. But you talk about Lewandowski out, Gnabry out, but then you forget they've got Conan, they've got Sane. For me, he's up there with Mbappe and Neymar, the way he's been playing this season and the threat he offers. And also Müller, big occasions. And when the tie was announced, I think Müller done a Instagram story and he was happy with the chance to play PSG again. So there's a lot of pressure on him to perform tonight as well.
Ammunition for PSG.
Exactly. So I think it's going to be such an entertaining game, but I fancy maybe even a 3-1 to Bayern Munich.
Yeah. Just a quick one on Ligue 1, because it looks very interesting, doesn't it? A big result with PSG losing at the weekend. 5 points separate the top 4. PSG currently second, 7 games left. Can Lille do it?
They can now, yeah. I mean, second in a one-horse race for PSG. It's not where you want to be. I mean, if Poch doesn't get PSG over the line in this one, questions will be rightly asked of him. That was a really bad performance against Lille. You'd still fancy Paris, but not with as much conviction as I did sort of 3 days ago. That's for sure.
No, and there are two other teams as well, aren't there? Monaco and Lyon.
I don't fancy Lyon. Monaco are playing really well at the moment.
Europa League quarter-final, first legs on Thursday. United away to Granada. Granada, mid-table in La Liga. They've lost the last two. How can they cause a threat?
I think their minds have wandered towards this game against Manchester United, arguably the biggest in their history. They did play in the Spanish Cup final back, a long time before I was born, and they got beat by Barcelona. So this, in modern history, is the biggest game that they're ever going to play. But they are mid-table. You know, they've got like Bobby Soldado plays from up front. He didn't do great, did he, when he was in the Premier League? I think Manchester United should win quite comfortably.
Do you feel they're getting an away goal and even win the game outright?
Yeah, 100%. I feel, Ollie needs to win something, doesn't he? And this is his best chance with the teams that are left. So as much as Manchester United make it hard for themselves, I fancy them to get an away goal, maybe even a 2-0 win.
Yeah, they have to get through, and as I say, it's the only trophy they've got left, really, isn't it? Arsenal at home to Slavia Prague. I have to see a reaction after that shocking performance against Liverpool, don't we?
Where do you start with Arsenal? I mean, I feel sorry for Arsenal fans, what they're going through. It wouldn't surprise me if Slavia Prague turn up and really go for it and then beat Arsenal, to be honest. Yeah, because you've seen Arsenal, their confidence can go down. Aubameyang's not looking the same. He's getting brought off in games when they need goals. So is there a bit of friction there with the manager? So for me, I do hope to get a reaction, but I'm going to go Slavia Prague to cause an upset.
Yeah, I think Arsenal are vulnerable favourites in this one, aren't they? Slavia have got a few absentees in defence, which isn't going to help their cause. But I thought they played, if you take sort of what happened against sort of Rangers, that sort of incident apart, played really well against Rangers and against Leicester as well. So a dangerous and underrated team maybe. So maybe over 2.5 goals might be a good shout.
Just a quick one. Gary Neville said on Monday Night Football, or was it Jamie Carragher actually, but it could be another Ozil, Aubameyang.
I wouldn't go that far, because I think Ozil did down tools in there. I think Aubameyang is still trying, but I think any player, if you give a player £350,000 a week when they're 30 on a 3-year deal, is it? Maybe 3-4 year deal. It's going to be very hard to be the same player who was fighting for that contract. Do you know what I mean? If you're a player and you're maybe your last
you wouldn't have been
deal,
like that when you signed your
I wouldn't have done that. No way. No way. But I think that's what's happened, isn't it? Before Aubameyang signed a contract, he was that player, wasn't he? Hunting around, one of the best players in the Premier League. He's got the deal, and you haven't seen the same intensity. He's not pressing as much. He don't look as hungry.
So do you see him getting back to the form of before he signed the contract, or is that it?
I don't know. I can see him getting dropped for Martinelli, and if he does well, I can see Aubameyang losing his place. So he looks like a bit of a sulker as well. I think he might go the opposite way of sulking as the captain as well, not playing. So he won't be as bad as Ozil, but I can still see a situation maybe where they might be stuck with a player on massive money on the last 2 years of his deal.
Oh dear. I can
Oh
see
dear,
why
oh dear.
now you're saying you feel sorry for Arsenal fans. They'll be hoping that won't happen. Let's move swiftly on then, shall we, to our Q&A section as well. It gives the viewer a chance to win a £25 Amazon voucher for your questions to be read out. Daniel Day, you've won a £25 voucher. His question is to all of you. Messi or Ronaldo? You go first.
I mean, I have this argument with my mates all the time. My mates that are Man United fans choose Ronaldo, of course, and the ones that aren't Man United fans choose Messi. So for me, it's always been Messi. What he offers is totally different to any player I've ever seen in my era. And for me, the best player in the world and the best player ever.
Yeah, I enjoy watching Messi more. So I suppose that's the answer, isn't it? Really, I think that Ronaldo is built like he should be a footballer, and that physique enables him to. I think that helps him. Whereas Messi has got to overcome the handicap of being that much smaller, and yet the way he's kind of changed that position up front as well. I think sort of is why I'd go for him.
I once stood after a game at the new camp. I'd finished playing, obviously. It was the Chelsea-Barcelona game, and I was in the mix zone afterwards, and he was literally this close to me, Lionel Messi, and I'm thinking, oh my goodness, 5'7", not ripped at all, and yet you're the best player in the world. Absolutely incredible. I think he's a gift from God. I think there's only Maradona that can touch him. Ronaldo's been absolutely superb in what he's done and how he's developed and the numbers he's got. But as you say, when you grow up, Messi for me is the ultimate player as a kid that you want to be.
100%.
Score goals, but also really.
And if you look back at was it 2010 season when he scored 90 goals in a year? I mean, it's incredible, isn't it? Like, that's more than I got in my whole career. He got in a year. So you're looking at it that season and you're like, the things he was doing, the way he's just running past people, that goal he scored, similar to Maradona's, that he scored, that was outstanding. And I've said this to my friends, there's only one person in the world that'll be starstruck if I've seen, and that's Lionel Messi. Forget about the actors, the rappers, the other players, NBA stars. If I saw Lionel Messi, I think I'd be lost for words.
I know you're a bit like that when you first see Mark.
Exactly.
We warm you up a bit, don't we, before you come in?
Exactly.
So we're all agreed there, Messi. Thomas Mount, if you're Gareth Southgate, who are you taking to the Euros? For me, Lingard has to go and Trent has to be dropped. We had a good chat about Trent beforehand, didn't we? What did you say?
I think, it's very difficult because I do like Trent. He's won everything, hasn't he? The Premier League, the Champions League, been a great right back. But I just feel the way England are set up, if England had Ferdinand and Terry at centre-back, then you'd play Trent Arnold right back because you've got two outstanding centre-halves. England haven't got them centre-halves at the moment, so you need a more defensive, reliable right back. So for me, I wouldn't take him. Lingard, 100% has to go. I feel his recent form, he's probably the best player we've got in that number 10 role in the form-wise at the moment. The goals and assists he's got in his last 7 games. If he continues that for the rest of the season, which I think he will, then he has to go. He offers something different as well. He's got that pace breaking from midfield. So definitely a big option to bring on for England during the Euros.
I wouldn't have him in at the moment, but if he carries on the type of form, then I would. And obviously with Jack struggling as well, then there's a possible place there. OK, let's move on to our game previews, shall we? Saturday lunchtime, Man City Leeds. Do you remember the game at Ellen Road? It was like 2 boxers absolutely slugging out, wasn't it? It was a fantastic game.
I think it was a bit of a shock to Man City. They were thinking, hang on a second, these guys don't stop running. They're flying up and down, and we're like they should be sitting back and playing defensive against us. So I think it'll be a different game. This game now, I can see De Bruyne getting rested, Sterling coming back in, Gabriel Jesus coming back in. So I just see Manchester City being too strong for them, and a comfortable Manchester City, maybe 3-1 win.
Leeds had 52% possession, and no team has ever in a single season done the double over a Pep side in terms of possession. That's not just Man City, that's Barcelona and Bayern Munich as well. But look, there's not many people Pep looks up to, but Bielsa's one of them, isn't he?
He is, yeah, absolutely. I mean, he didn't model his whole game on them, but he certainly models parts of it, and that's probably one of the big differences between Guardiola and Bielsa. I think Bielsa is really stuck in his ways in terms of what he wants, whereas Guardiola's a bit more flexible. He takes a bit of what Bielsa does, but then he's got his own sort of ideas as well that can kind of take him on to the next level. And Bielsa isn't perfect, and I think that maybe people get a bit confused when they're praised and when Leeds are praised. It's not saying that everything they do is fantastic, but you like watching them, and I think they are a fun team to watch. A comfortable first season back in the Premier League I don't think they could have asked for too much more. I'm just defensively, I still worry about them sort of up in levels, and when we've seen them play against some of the big 6 previously, conceded a lot of goals away from home in those matches.
They get hurt, don't they? So a side issue before we get onto you've kind of already given your Betfred selection, but Kevin De Bruyne, we've just heard, signed a new contract to 2025. He's now a pound behind you. Seriously, how big a coup is this for City?
I think it's massive. I think it took a while, didn't it, to get it signed, because I think De Bruyne is probably saying, I want to be the highest paid. I'm the best player in the team. And maybe that's been the part where the contracts took a while. But his recent performances, whilst you're negotiating a contract and you're putting in performances like him, I think you end up getting what you want, don't you? So I think massive for Manchester City, and it looks like you'll see out his career at Manchester City winning trophies.
Yeah. So your Betfred selection, remind me again?
For any game?
For this one, City.
For this one, for this one. I'm thinking a City 3-1. I think Leeds always get that goal, don't they? Rafinha's dangerous, Bamford's dangerous. Even, I I don't think Harrison can play, can he? It's his parent club. He can't play, but you got Costa. But Manchester City, Jesus is hungry for goals. Aguero hungry for goals. Sterling will play. I just fancy them to get the result.
Mark?
I'm going to go for Man City to win and both teams to score.
3-1.
Yeah, it might be three. It might even be more. It might even be more than 3-1. But yeah, because you look at Leeds in terms of the big games away from home. The only one they didn't score in was at Spurs when they created quite a lot of chances. So expect them to score, but to probably get beat quite comfortably.
I think as well, you look at both teams. The league's won. Leeds, they're going to finish around top 10, top 11, so they're not worrying about relegation. They can go and really go for it, can't they? Manchester City as well, they can go for it more because they want to win the league as soon as possible. So be an entertaining game with goals.
You get the feeling there's only one game you can watch this weekend. It's this
yeah.
one, isn't it? Another great game, I'm sure. Over 3.5 goals I've gone, but City win. So I think we're all along the same line there. Game preview 2, it's Saturday 3 o'clock kickoff. Liverpool, Aston Villa. Gabby, of course, the reverse fixture was 7-2 to Villa. So are you looking to improve upon that? You know,
maybe looking for 8. You know, I think we can get the 8th one, but no, I think my prediction before last night was a Liverpool win, but I don't know if I'm allowed to change it. But I feel like after watching the centre halves last night, I'm a bit more confident Villa can go and get something. I'm looking at maybe a draw and both teams to score.
Are you? They weren't great. They got the win against Fulham. Important to win. They show they can win without Jack, but they weren't great for 75 minutes, were they?
Let's be honest, they were dreadful. I mean, since Jack's been injured, the only good part they've had is the last 15 minutes against Fulham. There was no hunger to score. There was no one taking, wanting to be the man who, when you played the game, Scott, you didn't want to be in a team where it was, you're a one-man team. But that's how Villa have been while Jack's been out. And it took Trezeguet to come on and get 2 goals to probably to stake a claim that we're not just a one-man team. So they've been poor, but I just fancy Watkins against that Liverpool centre half pairing to cause havoc. He's going to be hungry to get into the Euro squad. So I fancy a draw.
Yeah, Franco Zola used to give me the ball all the time because he knew that I was the one.
One-man team.
It's just amazing, isn't it? After being brilliant against Arsenal, Liverpool were poor against Madrid. Do you feel they can bounce back? I mean, if you look at the table 2 games ago, you'd have thought they're out the top 4, but that's a real carrot.
Yeah, I think they can bounce back. I actually think that Klopp will demand that they bounce back, and maybe he would have taken the eye off the ball a little bit of this game if Liverpool had played well and they felt like they had a real good chance of progressing to the Champions League semi-finals. But almost this game is now bigger than the next game against Real Madrid for them, and not just because it's the cliche, it's the next one. He'll probably thinking now top 4s that what we really need to target. I don't think he will accept another performance like that. And Liverpool haven't had too many really bad ones. Even when they've lost. There's been a bit lethargic, but that Real Madrid performance, it came out of nowhere really, because I felt like they've been progressing quite nicely, and they dealt with a dangerous Leipzig team, they beat Wolves, they thrashed Arsenal. So I'm prepared to give them a chance. It was just an off night, and they'll come back.
We shall see. What was your Betfred selection again?
1-1. I'm going to go with
1-1. Okay.
I'm going to go for Liverpool to win by more than 1 goal. I think Aston Villa, apart from that sort of 15 minutes against Fulham, have been really poor for a good few weeks now.
Difficult as well, isn't it, for Aston Villa players? What do you think? Can we be safe? Can we get into the top 6? Not really. So they're in that position, aren't they, where the season can fizzle out. I've been there many times where you're looking at the beach when you've got 8 games
between the toes.
Yeah, you can't go down. You can't really get into Europe, really.
They can get into Europe.
Yeah, they might be able to get into the 6th position, but I still fancy the teams that are really fighting for the Champions League spots to, at worst, end up in the top 6, if that makes sense. The disappointment of not finishing 4th, like maybe West Ham and Everton, or Liverpool.
I did think about changing because I went for Liverpool to win 2-0, but then I thought about it again. I think they will react, and Villa have been poor, apart from those 15 minutes without Jack. So Liverpool to win 2-0 for me. Game preview 3 on Sunday. It's West Ham against Leicester. This is a really good game, this one. It's 4th versus 2nd. I was really worried about West Ham going 3-0 up and then seeing the goals coming back against Wolves. Not another Arsenal game, but they held out, didn't they?
They did. I think it was important to do that. They are feeling the pressure a little bit, but what a great performance, first of all, to get yourself into those 3-0 up situations, I think where they're getting a bit of the rub of the green is they're scoring a lot of early goals in matches, and that dictate. You would have played the game, and that first goal is massive, and so you can then play the sort of David Moyes sort of way, if you like. If you're in front, a bit harder if you're chasing a match, and they're scoring a lot of early goals, and that can just change in an instant. I think there's a bit of randomness to the fact that they keep getting in front early, and if you have a look at a lot of their shot stats, they're scoring with a really high percentage of their shots, which again I don't think can last for too much longer. The good news for West Ham fans is it doesn't need to last for too much longer, just another few matches, and they could be in the Champions League. This is a huge game because if they beat Leicester, I think you've got 2 spots open, third and fourth, and if they don't, then Leicester will probably feel like that they're going to make it, and it's down to 1 spot.
Yeah, I was going to ask about Leicester. How big a game is this for them? 7 games left after it. They're 5 points above Chelsea in 5th, and of course 4 above West Ham. So if they were to win, are they pretty much in the top 4? But if they were to lose, is it game on?
I think if they lose, it's game on for so many teams chasing them, isn't it? Because a lot of teams, maybe 2 games ago, would have thought, third's gone, we're all fighting for 4th. But it's a massive game, and Leicester, like we talked about, other teams bottling it. You think about it, you're going to think, it happened last season, and they might be a bit nervous in the game. But I just feel with Antonio out, Declan Rice out, I just think Ndidi will sort of man mark Lingard because he's the main threat. I just fancy Leicester to win because Maddison's back. He come on last game. I think he will start. Vardy's dangerous. I just fancy Leicester to get through and then both teams to score.
Okay. What's your Betfred selection?
I'm going to go for Leicester draw, no bet. I think it might be a tight game. If there's to be a winner, I'll go for Leicester.
I can't have West Ham losing this game. I know they've got key players out, and you're right, they are big players, but I still feel that if they do get that first goal, they're very difficult sides.
Who are they going to play a striker? That's the problem I look at now with Antonio out. Who will play?
I think they've got so many different players. Listen, for me, Antonio, if he'd have carried on playing how he was without being injured this season, he maybe could have gone into the England squad.
Yeah.
And it will be difficult, but they're set pieces. They're brilliant. They don't always need the centre forward to score.
That's why Dawson and Kufela are in my team on fantasy
football. Exactly. Cresswell's got one of the best left foots in the Premier League as well. So very dangerous at set pieces. I understand what you're saying, but I'm going for a score draw in this.
I think as well, it comes down to who wants to get in the top 4 the most. For me, you've got Spurs, Liverpool, Chelsea, West Ham, Leicester, but it's going to come down to who wants it the most. Yeah. That will finish in the top 4. So this is the perfect game to go out and show we don't want to just end up in 6th, 7th. We want to actually get in the top 4 and give 200%.
Never have a better opportunity finishing top 4.
No, and Leicester's last 3 matches are really not nice, are they? They're playing all the teams around them. I think it's Chelsea, United and Spurs to finish the campaign off, so they need to get the points on the board now.
And I think they're probably some of the top 7 who are chasing 4th. They might have to play Newcastle and Fulham, and we've seen with Spurs against Newcastle, they're not guaranteed 3 points. If you're fighting for your life at the bottom, it's probably a tougher game playing one of them 2 teams than it is playing an Arsenal or a Leeds or Villa. So there's a lot of football to be played and results.
Who knows?
Exactly.
That's one thing we've learnt this season. Moving on to our final game preview, Spurs versus Manchester United. Again, glamour one, a good one. But Mark, same coach, different players. What do you make of Jose Mourinho's comments when he was asked about, your sides normally keep leads?
Yeah, I mean, sort of a year ago, he was all about the players, wasn't it? And he's turned. I mean, this is the bit about Mourinho I don't like, and this is why I'm not as fussed about the football. I think that sometimes he's over-criticised for the football that his teams play. This is the bit that where he completely detaches himself when things are going wrong, when the manager should be taking the ultimate responsibility and helping the players, and he's done it before. He's thrown, about 3 or 4 teams under the bus now. I mean, it was the players at Chelsea, it was the players at Manchester United, it's now the players at Tottenham. You could sort of throw that comment back to
common
Mourinho.
Theme going on here.
Yeah, what's the common theme here? It's different players, same manager. You could turn it around like that and say, what's going on? Luke Shaw, it happened too. There were many Chelsea players that became disinterested. Aurier, Alderweireld, Dele Alli, among those that have sort of fallen out with him at Spurs. I mean, the Alderweireld stuff, when he said that He wasn't back in training, and then there were pictures of him in training sort of before he said. I mean, that's not good. It's not a good look, and he's trying, I think, to cover up what was. And Newcastle played well, but Tottenham's performance was horrendous.
What's your take on this, Gabby? Is he bang up Vorder in saying what he's saying? What would you feel like if you were a Spurs player? Or actually, is he spot on here?
I think he's spot on, but you don't say it in the press. After the game, like he's common that he does, he takes them back to the training ground maybe and gets the video. Say what you like to the players, because I thought the players did let him down. You can't be like always conceding these late goals. You know, you got enough to beat Newcastle. So what he said, yes, it's right, but these players were down tools. Believe me, I've been in dressing rooms where managers have criticised players, and he's already fell out with Aurier, Alderweireld, Bale, Ali, Doherty is hammered. So if I'm these players, they're probably thinking like, well, we'll see him out, because you can't upset that many players, because Daniel Levy will find out about it, and I just don't think you can do it. So yes, criticise the players, but do it behind closed doors. In the media, just say, yeah, we're disappointed to concede these late goals. We'll try and do better next game. Paul Lambert was great at that, at like defending the players, and then. But that's my opinion. I just think that he's got to get with the times. Managers don't do that anymore. You'll never see Pep Guardiola blaming his players. So he's just got to get with the times, I feel.
Interesting. For United, as we speak, we don't know the Granada score, but we mustn't forget, early in the season, this was 6-1 at Old Trafford, wasn't it? But how much have United evolved since then?
I don't feel like they have evolved too much. I mean, it was a bit of a random game, wasn't it? Lamela got Martial sent off. It was a really harsh red card, and
even 11v11, it looked like Spurs.
It was, yeah. I mean, Manchester United were, I think, paying the price for the fact that they were in the Europa League last season, and that season didn't finish until the summer. And so all of them Champions League and Europa League teams, Man City didn't start the season very well either, you know. And I think that those teams that had a longer campaign, it took them a while to get going, and so that's maybe why they were slow out of the blocks. And Spurs had more games because they'd been playing in Europa League qualifiers. And
so
I felt like it was a perfect storm.
Don't think United have evolved since then?
I feel like they're the same team. I still think that they've got really good players, very average coach, and that's why you get inconsistencies in their performance, because sometimes the players, you know, just do it, and sometimes they don't. And you know, no, I think that they're about the same team as what they've been ever since Solskjaer was there. They are an expensively assembled team with a coach that wouldn't get in any of the other top six.
Agree with that?
Yeah, I totally agree. I feel that they haven't really evolved much over the season, but a lot of other teams have been very poor this season. Manchester United have maybe had too many penalties than they should have had. And Fernandes has been great. Rashford has got his goals as well. But I'll just see this game as Spurs getting put to the sword, to be honest. I feel Manchester United want revenge. Solskjaer will want to beat Mourinho. The players that Mourinho has upset at Manchester United, the Shaws, the Rashfords, the Pogbas, they're going to be up for the game even more. So I just feel that this is a chance for Manchester United to get revenge, and I think they will do.
Okay, so what's your Betfred selection here?
I'm going to go 4-1 to Manchester United. Yeah, I think Spurs players as well, they're not happy with the manager. You know, he's leaving Dyer on the bench. Sanchez and Rodon don't look very good at the back. Tanganga doesn't look comfortable at the back as well. Reguilon doesn't like defending, just going forward. I feel like it's really going to be a game where Manchester United put them to the sword.
Interesting.
Maybe not 4-1. I do fancy Manchester United to win the game. Spurs outplayed by Liverpool and Chelsea at home, and this is a similar standard of opponent, isn't it?
Yeah, I've not gone for 4-1, but both teams to score, and I do fancy United to win this as well. And
Kane's guaranteed a goal, isn't he? He's on frightening form, isn't he?
Yeah, exactly. He's brilliant number 9, brilliant number 10 as well. Best fantasy football picks this weekend, where we pick a player who we think will stand out. Who have you gone for?
I think for me, Salah, I've gone for. I feel that, you know, the way he plays at the moment, he's not playing his best football, but he scores goals. You've seen against Real Madrid, he didn't have his best game, but he's always in the right position to get a goal. So I think he could be a threat, and he takes penalties as well, so he's due a pen.
Yeah, he's one of those players, he doesn't always have to play well, does he, to get on the score sheet. He just gets...
You don't see him as well take anyone on. He's a player that always makes the runs and gets put in behind and then scores his goals. You don't see him dribbling past anyone, do you? But he's turned into that sort of player that's a goal scorer now, not really a player to entertain.
Yeah, okay.
I'm going to go similar type of player, I suppose, really. But Neto for Wolves. I know Wolves are on a shocking run, but I think he's one of the few shining lights for them. And Wolves have got Fulham next, and their fixtures over the next month are quite winnable, I would say. Not many winnable games for Wolves, given the way they're playing, but they've got on the fixture schedule that you get for the Premier League, there's a lot of green there, so there's a lot of easy games coming up.
Allegedly.
Don't you think it might cost them a few points with the clean sheets? You lose a point, don't you, for a clean sheet? And Wolves can't defend.
They can't defend, but I think that, Nuno will have been working them pretty hard on the training ground, I would have thought. They'll go to Fulham with the attitude of we don't lose this game, because if they do, suddenly they could get sucked into a relegation battle. They shouldn't, but they might do.
It'd be nice.
That would make
nice.
things
That'd be
interesting.
nice.
It's a shock. He's saying that. It'd be nice. I mean, look, my one is, I said earlier about if you can only watch one game, it's City against Leeds. I think it would be really open. I think there'd be lots of chances. If Raheem Sterling starts, and I think he will, he'll score, he'll assist. I think he'll have an absolute field day. If he doesn't start, get someone else as Man City forward, because I think this is going to be a really open game with lots of chances. But Raheem Sterling is my pick. Okay, let's move on to the team treble then, where each of us pick a team we think will win this weekend and give a reason why. Who have you gone for, Gabby?
I think Manchester City. I think Leeds will come to the Etihad and, push players forward. It's a great big pitch, and there's going to be fresh players like Sterling, Gabriel, Jesus, who are going to be wanting to make an impact. So I'm going to go for a Manchester City win.
Mark?
I go for them quite often, but Brighton, they've got Everton at home on Monday. I saw a survey recently that said that in terms of fan satisfaction, Everton fans were more satisfied with Ancelotti than any other club's managers in the Premier League, and I don't quite get it. I mean, when I watch them, I don't really see what they're trying to do. I don't see massive improvement in the last 18 months, and I think Brighton actually coach better, and they're unlucky at Manchester United. Should have had a penalty, and I think you get a different game. They're competing well in a lot of matches, and I fancy them to win.
Yeah, you do like Brighton. Ancelotti speaks highly of you.
What's he won? No, he's only won the Champions League as a player and manager. Yeah.
But it's a good comparison, actually. Graham Potter's Brighton, very well coached.
I love watching them.
Yeah, very good side. I've been looking at sort of what could be decent odds. I've gone for West Brom. Southampton actually fantastic last week for their comeback, but I think defensively they're very weak. And if you can't get confidence after that win at the Bridge in the way they did, Big Sam, if he's going to do it, has got to just get that momentum now. So I'm going for West Brom. That's it, Gabby. Thanks for coming.
Thank you for having me, guys.
Fun, as always.
Thank you for having me.
What are you up to this weekend?
A little bit of work here and there, watching the Champions League and Europa League. That's it, really.
Brilliant. Well, good to see you. I'm sure we'll get you another 4 or 5 times before the end of the season. Seriously, great to see you, mate. And Mark, as ever, thank you. Okay, that is it for this week. We'll wait to see how Gabby's predictions have come along next week. We'll look back on those and look ahead to the big games the following week and talk big talking points as always. And as always, please, if you are to gamble on behalf of Betfred and also the Racing Post, please gamble responsibly.